Hello and welcome. It's Thursday afternoon, so it must be time for Live at Epiphan. I'm George.
I'm Dan.
And today we have another one of these shows where we're going to talk about stream tips and good practices and how to try and make the best of your live streams. Also a few tips on, I guess, the benefits of it. So what's the more detailed topic?
Yeah, so we've got a meaty show for you today, talking about the Prime Rib Big Band. So this is a band that actually had a recording session last week that we helped them live stream. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And our second meaty topic of the day will be, of course, Mark Zuckerberg's wonderful backyard barbecue live stream, which happened over the weekend. And we're going to
break that down a little.
Yeah, break it down. Let's talk about what Zuckerberg's been up to. So, yeah, it should be an interesting show, so stick around.
Normally we start things off talking about any changes here in our studio. There aren't any this week. Really haven't changed anything.
Things must be running like a well-oiled machine if that's the case.
We're getting there.
It's looking all right. And welcome, by the way. We're actually, the studio is a backyard today. We've got some brisket smoking over here behind George, and I've got the green egg going back here. So at the end of the show, we can chow down and enjoy some juicy meats.
And beers under the desk.
Yes.
The other thing, I guess, is that, of course, as usual, like, subscribe, all those social media things. But if you have any questions, please put them into the comments as we go through. I think our big topic today, hopefully you guys will have some really great questions because I think it's an interesting one and we're going to cover quite a bit. And so if there's anything that doesn't seem like we explained it correctly, throw the question in there and we will answer it. So over to you, Dan, with our big topic.
Okay, so I'm just going to turn up the music on my laptop a bit so you can hear it. Why don't we go to picture-in-picture as well? So we want to talk about this interesting live stream that we participated in last week. So this is the Prime Rib Big Band out of Ottawa, and they're, I think, a 10-piece band with, woodwinds and horns and bass. Some great music they're making, and they actually had a live video recording session that was taking place in a recording studio here in the city. So we wanted to just do a little experiment of taking a webcaster on the road and actually live streaming their recording session.
So you brought one of these, the Webcaster X2, into the recording studio?
Exactly. So they were actually planning on shooting a video anyways.
Okay.
And the plan was just to simply augment their existing video production setup with a live stream.
Okay.
So, being that, there's not a lot of time in the recording studio, and obviously recording studio time,
you're paying for it.
it's not free. So we needed to come up with a solution that was very simple and effective and time conscious as well.
Okay.
So, we went with the Webcaster.
So what other pieces of equipment did you use? The network connection in the studio? I mean, I can't imagine they had one easily available.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't want to have to rely on the network connection in the studio. So what we actually did, and if we go back to picture-in-picture, you might see some imagery there as well. We used what's known as a LTE rocket hub.
So you used this guy here?
Yeah, you see it right here. This is a device from one of the major cell phone providers here in Canada.
Just looks like a big router.
Yeah, that's basically all it is. It has a SIM card in there, and it connects to your 4G LTE network. So we did a few tests just to make sure that we were getting good bandwidth, and we were getting I think about 25 up, somewhere about 20 up, which is more than what's needed for our setup, which was we were planning to go to right to Facebook.
So I've seen these guys, the LTE sticks before. This seems like it actually would have been better because it actually has wired Ethernet on the back of it, which so does Webcaster, which that I would imagine would provide better reliability and less potential interference. Because Wi-Fi, as easy as Wi-Fi might be, it can be a little spotty with interference sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Even a microwave can interrupt a Wi-Fi signal very easily. So we didn't want to have to rely on Wi-Fi at all. It's great that the Webcaster has an antenna if you need it. And actually, if you take a look here, I'll just move this over a bit so it's easier to see. But here on the desk, you'll see our setup. So we just have the LTE rocket hub here on the table, and then next to it, connected via standard Ethernet cable is the Webcaster.
Okay.
And then all we had to do was plug the camera. We were using up here, you see at the top, I guess it'll be on your screen, this way.
This way.
You see the C100. We were just running an HDMI cable from the C100 into the Webcaster, and that was pretty much it in terms of hardware setup. Just 3 devices. Actually, the other thing we did was we hooked up a stereo pair professional grade microphone to capture. So set it up in a cross pattern to capture. I think I can show it on the video here. Let's see if I can find it. So there it is being plugged in, the HDMI, and here it is. So this is the stereo pair. So it's just an XLR microphone pair.
Right.
And we ran those XLR microphones right into the C100 camera. So very simple setup. The camera, we could adjust our audio levels, and that was about it. It was pretty easy, actually.
And then that way you had those higher-end microphones coming directly, I guess, through embedded HDMI into the Webcaster to bring that audio in.
Yeah.
So we did get a quick question there. Let me just take a look at that question. How many SIM cards? In this particular one, I think it's just one by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a bonding router. It is just a single LTE router. There are such thing as bonding routers. We've talked about them in previous shows. Those are usually provided by a third party. One name that comes to mind would be Mushroom Networks. They make one. And you would actually, in a bonding router scenario, you would most commonly plug in multiple of these from different carriers. So a little bit of a different device. The nice part with a bigger guy like this is obviously there's the physical space to have a stronger antenna in here than you might in this. So, and of course the Ethernet for reliability to
so one of the things that we did during the stream, and I think we have it here in the video you might see, so I'll see if I can find it on the video. But basically what we did is we wanted to be able to monitor the stream effectively as well. So we just grabbed brought a laptop along, and we connected our laptop via Wi-Fi because it's not as critical. Right. Connected it to the LTE network as well, so that we could actually preview our stream. And what we did is we paired the Webcaster to just an unlisted YouTube channel, and we tested our stream on YouTube before we switched over to Facebook and started our stream.
But you prepared all of that ahead of time so that all you had to do was show up on site and start.
And you know what? That was a crucial part of the setup, and I would recommend this anytime you're doing a live stream, is to obviously make sure that you prepare well. So the day before the recording session, we paired the device. So we paired the YouTube account to just a sort of a private YouTube channel, just for testing purposes, and then we paired the Facebook account with the band's Facebook account so that we would be able to stream directly to their Facebook. We set up the video description and title in advance so that everything was ready to go, and all we had to do was, basically press the button and start the stream. And that's what we did.
So I just got this thing here. This looks like someone sort of home fabric cobbled this together, but someone was showing me this earlier today. They actually made this in order to create a little holster for the Webcaster so that they could strap it to a tripod or another piece of equipment by Velcro.
Yeah, and actually you can see the photo here. So in fact, after we did the recording session, it was so successful that the band was very happy with the results. They decided that they wanted to actually live stream their next performance.
Oh, okay.
So they took the Webcaster out to their performance last night at a local pub. And you can see the setup here in the photo. They just created this little strap, very simple, strapped it onto the tripod, and there's the setup, all fitting on one table. And I think what they did last night is, this is our Rocket Hub, but they actually tried using this, which is just like
just a small LTE stick,
yeah, just a little LTE stick.
But it has Wi-Fi, so they just connected Webcaster to the Wi-Fi on this.
Exactly. So this broadcasts the Wi-Fi hotspot, and you're ready to go.
There's only USB on here, so this was powered from USB?
Yeah, so conveniently enough, the Webcaster does have 3 USB ports on it.
So they powered the LTE stick from Webcaster, connected to its Wi-Fi.
Exactly. So
and used the LTE for the stream connection.
So just like this.
Interesting.
Now, this is not communicate. These devices aren't communicating with each other over USB. But what the Webcaster is doing is it's
providing power.
It's providing that USB power.
That definitely saves having to bring this big thing, which has an extra wall power supply and everything else.
Exactly. So just that, and they're all set. And you know what? I mean, in terms of Wi-Fi connectivity, you would hope that you can get
if you're getting interference at that
signal.
distance, then your LTE is probably not going to work either.
Yeah. So if we take a look, I'll just show you quickly here on the band's YouTube page. So here's the, I'll just scroll down a bit. So here's actually the stream that we did in the recording studio. You see the quality is actually really nice. I wish we could, I don't have the sound hooked up to be able to hear it very well, but I'll just play it over the laptop speakers so you get an idea. So you can see, you get a little bit of the behind the scenes as well, where you see them setting up and getting ready. Yeah, so it looked great, sounded great. And then last night at the pub, you can see this is just on their own. They took the Webcaster out, and I think the set that they live streamed was like 40 minutes long.
Wow.
Got lots of engagement. I was looking at their Facebook page actually.
Well, that's what I was curious about, was that, we did this, and with no real expectation. This is a band that, doesn't necessarily have a huge social media following from what I gather. So what's the impact, I guess, is the big question.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just looking at the posts from the live streams themselves, and they got really great engagement relative to other posts on the page. You can see lots of likes. The first live stream in the recording studio got over 1,200 views.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Lots of shares, 11 shares. And then last night, even since last night, their live stream has gotten over 700 views. So, I mean, let's put this into context. You're out playing a live show in a venue, in a pub. Maybe there's 100 people there, right? You've now been able to put your music out and have 700% more people
right.
seeing and hearing your performance than before. And actually, if we look at, I got them to send me some data from their Facebook page. So we have some analytics here. I'll just pull these up. You can see a very clear bump in the last week. So the thing that I like to look at here is right in the middle is reach. And the people reached. So that's, how many news feeds is your post reaching? So you see here, their reach, they have put a slight paid bump here. That's represented by
That's fair. If you're doing this for promotional purposes for your band or your business, you're probably going to boost the post paid, which is relatively inexpensive for the most part if you're running a marketing campaign. But that is a big percentage jump over typical for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it. So these green numbers are relative to, the previous week.
Right.
So you see their people reached, it's up 53,000%. So, if you can get 10 or 11 shares on a live stream, you have to imagine that that's an exponentially larger network that your content is reaching. So, I mean, I would say that this has been a great success, and for relatively low cost. I mean, the cost of data on one of these hubs, what are we looking at?
Well, it obviously depends regionally on your plan. I think we're probably paying $20 a month or something like that, but I think that's only a 5 or 6 gigs, so it's not something you would live stream every day with, but on that amount of data. Obviously in Canada and the US, the plans vary by carrier and region and things like that. But it actually ties into another question we did get. Out of curiosity, what's the bandwidth that the router has with one SIM? It's LTE 4G. I mean, theoretically, you could be getting into 20 megabit in theory, maybe more in some cases, but that largely depends on signal strength. And we've talked about that before in a previous episode where, if for example, on your cell phone, if you're connected to LTE, it's going to be the same as with one of these, right? It's the same data connection. If you're down to 1 bar of signal strength on LTE, you're probably getting maybe 1 meg if you're lucky. So, it's obviously going to vary, interference and things like that. So, that's That's a big variable.
And that's why you test. That's why you
Right.
test in advance. And, you know, the Webcaster, you can adjust your bit rate, right? So if you are a bit more constrained on the bandwidth side, you can decrease your resolution perhaps to 720p. Facebook only allows up to 720p anyways.
But it's a question of bit rate. And again, we've covered that a lot in previous shows in terms of what you might want to set.
Yeah, if you're interested in bit rate and bandwidth and, you know, some of those constraints, check out our episode from a couple of weeks ago called Bitrate Demystified. We explain it all in there. Lots of great content there.
Yeah. So some of those stats are really great in terms of what they managed to achieve from those couple of events. So it seems like even in that type of event, you just want to do a local promotion. I mean, this is, you know, they're going to reach beyond hopefully the neighborhood, the city, or whatever, and do some interesting promo there. And I guess the value is the live stream, right? Not everyone's going to make it out to the pub, but maybe they want to watch it if it's promoted ahead of time. And I think that's probably a big piece. Is promotion ahead of time. You could get a few thousand people watching the live stream to really sort of spread beyond that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't think they heavily promoted these live stream events in advance. In fact, the studio recording session was not promoted. And although they, you know, had an event page to encourage people to attend their performance at the pub, you know, there was no promotion of the live stream itself. This is all organic, right?
Right.
So it's very impressive, and, you know, especially for, you know, someone who is looking to increase their reach, to get more eyeballs on the great work that you're doing. This is a great, live streaming is clearly a great way to do that. And, you know, the figures we were looking at were just from earlier this morning. Probably by later today, that video will continue to rank high in people's news feeds when they're finishing work today, and we'll probably get quite a few more views. So big success.
So I wanted to look at a few other questions that we're getting. And guys, if you do have questions about what we've just been talking about, we'll kind of leave that open for a minute or so here before we jump into our next topic. So if you have those questions about some of this setup, please put them in the comments, and we'll get to those. So there's a couple ones here. They're not specifically related to this particular subject. They're about X2 in general. One of them is about the location tagging on X2. That is something that we are working on. It's sort of a combination with the Facebook API, but of course, normally the Facebook API expects a phone, which has a GPS, so it automatically tags a location. X2 doesn't have that, so that's actually something that we're working very closely with them on to find a better way of location tagging or something like that. It is possible to change the location tag after the stream has started, but ahead of time. That's something we're working on. When that is improved or corrected, then it'll just roll out as a firmware update to any X2s that are in the field. Just update the firmware, and you'll have that. One of the other ones here is, do you plan on opening the X2 to custom servers? I assume you mean custom RTMP publishing. As far as I'm aware, no. I mean, this is a device that is designed and priced and targeted specifically to social media streaming. That's really its goal. You know, we obviously have other devices from Epiphan that are designed actually for the other end of the spectrum, which is dealing with custom RTMP publishing, Perl 2, Perl, things along those lines. They are very different classes of products. So if you have questions and more details about that, send us an email or jump on live chat on our website, and our team would be happy to address those and work out which product's going to work best for you. I think we've covered it in previous shows as well, that we're seeing a huge increase in every level of user using the existing social media platforms as their primary streaming services. YouTube and Facebook have this wonderful pricing strategy of being free, and it's hard to argue with that. Plus, you're dealing with a platform that everyone already knows how to use and uses daily anyways. So even from a larger enterprise corporate environment perspective, we are seeing, and even governments, a large number of those users using social media streaming anyways. And so certainly I can understand the desire to want to maybe go to your own private Wowza server, Akamai server, or any of the other CDN options out there, but just something to just take a look. So I think we'll jump over into our other topic there and see
Yeah,
see
well,
what we're looking at.
yeah,
here.
well, let's without a graceful segue, jump into talking about this very interesting live stream. And this happened over the weekend on the 23rd, and this is our good friend Mark Zuckerberg. And just like us, he likes to live stream from the backyard with a barbecue and a smoker going. And he actually live streamed for over an hour, taking questions from the world, all around the world, talking about a great variety of subjects.
Which I'm sure was awesome engagement for him.
Absolutely. I mean, this is pretty cool to have someone of Zuckerberg's stature just doing a quick impromptu live stream from his backyard. And I mean, really, that's what live streaming is all about.
Exactly, especially Facebook live streaming. And obviously that's why he decided to do it.
Yeah.
But you sent me this the other day, and I started looking through it, and I kind of went, you know what? Even Mark Zuckerberg probably could have used to watch some of our tips and tricks videos, because it's fantastic what he did, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that from a technical standpoint probably could have been done a little better. And I'm sure he learned from this experience and will do more, hopefully, and do them better. But he obviously, you could see here in the sample, he did this from a phone by the looks of it.
Yeah, this is a live stream from his cell phone. And actually, the beginning of the live stream, there was a bit of a false start. So the stream started and stopped very soon thereafter, and he had to restart the stream. And that's actually because he was using a wireless Bluetooth thermometer for his brisket.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, the Bluetooth app on his phone crashed his live stream.
Interesting.
Or interfered with his live stream. So, that's one of the problems you run into when you're using a cell phone, is that your cell phone has all kinds of applications running on it. What if you get a phone call?
Yeah, we keep harping on it when we're talking about X2, about get away from your phone when you're doing live streaming. Now, we talk about it typically when we're saying use a real camera, because it can give you a lot better image quality, but it also means that you're dealing with something that is dedicated to the task. And I think that even in a scenario like this in your backyard, if you're serious about making the content, something like the X2 can help there, combined with, even an off-the-shelf $200 handy cam with HDMI is going to probably give you a better image quality than your cell phone, especially like if you look at this, the focus keeps changing, some of that, and the lighting, all the automatic settings on the cell phone camera keep changing because of the smoke changing the lighting, the leaves moving, so the autofocus is freaking out. And those are some of the things that a cell phone camera struggles with.
Exactly. Another issue with the cell phone, and this came up in the stream, was I think Mark forgot to turn his phone to silent. He just put it on vibrate. So throughout the stream, he's getting hundreds of notifications, and you can consistently hear the vibration from his phone.
Right.
So that's just another reason why getting away from the cell phone could be could be a good idea.
Yeah, separate that out. I mean, if you want to take comments, I'm doing it right now. We want to look at comments, which we did get another question here, which I'll get to in a second. You want to kind of separate that out a little bit so that you don't get this weird interference, and it just makes it a little smoother. So what are some of the other things? I mean, we're not here to pick on Mark Zuckerberg.
No, we love Zucks.
The question here is, what can we learn from some of the things that he experienced?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we talked last week about a whole bunch of quick-fire tips for live streaming. I mean, one of the tips we gave, and I think Mark could have used, is to let people know in advance when you plan to live stream. So being that it's impromptu is great, but if there's people that you want to engage with during the live stream, let them know maybe earlier in the day.
Especially if you can schedule it, which usually with Facebook anyways, that usually means an actual page, like a corporate identity page, to do scheduled events and things like that. But if you can schedule it, it means people can like and share ahead of time, set reminders for themselves to actually watch it, and all those sorts of things. So there are big advantages to doing scheduled stuff. Yeah.
And actually, you see here, Mark's wife Priscilla is he tries to get her involved in the live stream several times. She seems more concerned with making sure that the dinner's prepared.
She kind of gives the impression that she's not really all that interested in this experiment. But that brings up a great point. If you're going to be doing a live stream involving other people, they got to be willing participants, because you're either going to upset them, which happy wife, happy life, as they say. But also it makes things awkward. It makes the content a little awkward. So making sure that you have willing participants. Dan and I might be somewhat willing to do this show, but at least we're both here. We're both
yeah, exactly. And the other thing is when you have people engaging with you and lots of questions coming in. I think the CTO of Facebook, who actually lives down the street from Mark, was invited over, but he was busy. So maybe if we could have let him know in advance, he might have been able to participate more, which drives further engagement. So
they could have handed off the Q&A and done a little bit of back and forth banter and things like that. That would have.
I mean, another tip that I'd give Mark is, you can see he kind of mounts. He has his camera mounted on, I don't know whether it's a picnic table or what he's using, but he has his camera mounted, and we always say, it's good to get your camera a little higher. You're going to get a better angle. We would probably be able to see his barbecues a little better.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of little things that you can do to just increase the quality and the production value little tiny bits. So if you want more of those tips, make sure to check out our live show from last week, where we talk about 7 quickfire camera tips for live streaming. And stay in touch with this show because we always have great ideas for making your live streams better.
Of course, we'll put links to the previous shows in the description after the stream. So I wanted to address this last question that came up. They were asking about the USB input uses, I guess on X2 is what you're referring to for the live stream. So the Webcaster X2 has the HDMI input on it for your HDMI camera. It also has some USB ports. One of them, which is directly beside the HDMI input, can be used for a USB camera source. Now, this is currently a beta feature. It is an opt-in beta feature in the settings on the X2. You could use a USB webcam as a second video source on the X2. So when you have that enabled and you have that plugged in, you could actually create picture-in-picture or side-by-side layouts using those two different video sources and to kind of bring an extra angle to your production. So there's some pretty cool stuff there. Lots of details, of course, in our online user guide for X2 on how to do that, which is online, available to anyone, so you can check that out to get more detail there. But like I said, that is a beta feature that's opt-in for the moment. Part of that is because there are so many webcams out there. We haven't gone through the list of testing them all, and that'll take a little while. The one that I personally have used quite a bit with the X2 is the Logitech C920, also known as the world's most popular webcam, and it works fantastic. So.
Yeah, I was actually playing with it last week. We were testing some streaming with a PlayStation, and I wanted to do the little picture-in-picture of myself with the controller.
Right.
So I plugged in.
And it worked for that?
Yeah, I popped in a webcam, and I was able to use the picture-in-picture, and actually there's some hotkeys. So I had a keyboard plugged into a USB port as well, and there's some hotkeys that you can use to sort of rescale your picture-in-picture, move it around. There's some very simple animations, so it was pretty cool. So if you
even some transparency to it, I think.
Yeah, you can do a side-by-side if you want as well. So it's pretty cool beta feature. So definitely try it out. Let us know what you guys think. Other uses for the USB ports on this?
Well, mouse and keyboard, really, or powering other devices like the LTE stick off of USB. Mouse and keyboard are probably the most popular ones for the rear ones. Like you said, you had a camera, a mouse plugged in if you have the monitor output connected, so that you can control the UI displayed on that monitor. But that's pretty much it.
I definitely say it's great when you do have a monitor plugged into this, because you can go right into the menus and tweak to your heart's content. You can
it also gives you a confidence monitor too, right? You can see yourself on that monitor, so you know what's going on. You can help frame up your own shot a little better that way. So there are some advantages there before you even go live. So,
yeah, that's the idea, right?
Another big one, I'll just mention, this is starting to sound like a product pitch more than our weekly show, but that's okay. One of the other big things that monitor can provide is that if you have a monitor connected to the HDMI output on an X2, it will actually show you comments and reactions coming in on your social media platform, Facebook or YouTube. So you can actually monitor part of it through Webcaster instead of having to use an extra piece.
Yeah.
So it gives you a lot of options.
I mean,
for engagement.
That's something that we don't even have here in the studio.
Right. I use this, and that's because we do use our Pearl 2 for this, because we simultaneously live stream on both Facebook and YouTube and recording. and lots of video inputs.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate enough here in the studio that we have a producer helping us who can help feed us our questions as they come in from you guys. But if you're on your own with a webcaster, maybe it's nice to be able to have a monitor just out of the camera's view where you can see comments and help you to engage with your audience. That's what live streaming is all about.
So I'm going to hit this last one real quick because it's a good follow-up to what we were just talking about. Someone who sounds like they're familiar with the Epiphan product line, asking if they could use the AVIO as a capture device for that USB port. That's a good question. It is not something that we have really specifically tested. These are our USB 2.0 ports on the Webcaster. AVIO is much better suited for USB 3. That's not to say that it may not be possible, because AVIO is just a UVC device, just like a webcam, but I suspect that you won't get the ideal frame rates. But I haven't tested it myself, but that's just a guess based on what I understand of the hardware on the X2. But that's something that we can certainly, if we get a chance to play around with that, we'll see what happens, and we can let you know.
Yeah, keep in touch with us. We'll update you on our results of those tests.
Yeah, for something like that, send us an email so we can open a support case for that. We can run it a quick test, and we can let you know.
Yeah, always happy to do any testing that you guys need us to do, so don't hesitate to ask. Well, I mean, we've covered our two major topics for this week.
Yeah.
We do have a few notes that we wanted to cover off before the end of the show.
Well, the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about the contest we were running for the Webcaster X2. That contest wrapped up a couple of days ago, and we did have a winner. Lisa H. from Brockville, Ontario, Canada, is the lucky winner of the Webcaster X2. Our team has been in touch with her to get her hands on that box very shortly.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Yeah, fantastic. We have an upcoming show. I don't know how many of our viewers are going to be in Mexico City August 9th to 11th, but there's an event there, Infocom Mexico. One of our sales team will be there with some of our partners to show off Epiphan products. So if you happen to be in Mexico City, August 9th to 11th, check us out. And Anthony, I believe, is the one going. He would be happy to talk you through all kinds of different Epiphan technology. What do we have next week?
Yeah, so next week, I mean, we've been talking a lot about cameras and lighting and live streaming tips. Next week, we're going to take a sort of different approach and actually take a closer listen to audio and talk about audio for live streaming. So for all you audiophiles out there, that's definitely going to be the episode to check out.
Perfect. As always, like, subscribe, share, all those socially things. And we're here every Thursday, 3 o'clock Eastern. And for now, I'm George.
And I'm Dan.
We'll see you next week.
So long.